Hello, my name is Matthias van der Maasen, aka NetSensei on Drupal.org. I'm a Drupal ninja working for a company called Crimson, based in Belgium, and we build cool Drupal websites. Today I'm going to talk about a little module I've been working on over the past few weeks called the Views Contextual Displays module. Before I go any further into what this module does, let's take a look at an example website I've been building and see, let's look for a few problems I'm going to try to solve with the module. So let's take a look at the website. So the website I've been building is a simple website with simple Drupal installation, Drupal 6, with an address book view. And the address book view just shows a little bit of information about persons in our address book, a biography field, an age field, and an email field. So this is our view, and you'll notice we're logged in as an anonymous user, and maybe in our view a few fields might contain sensitive information, for instance the age and the email address of our persons listed in our view. We might not want anonymous users to see those fields. So how would we solve this in a regular Drupal setup? If you'll be using CCK, then you'll know that CCK comes with a cool module called Field Permissions. Field Permissions is something that you can enable from the CCK field set in the admin build modules. Here, Content Permissions. And you go to see, if you're going to look under the User Management tab, Permissions, then you'll see that you can set who can view the different fields based on the role of the currently logged in or anonymous user. So in this setup, I've enabled these fields for the anonymous user. So an anonymous user can see the field age, the field email, and the field picture field. So if we click those, if we disable those, the age and the email field, let's save our permissions, and then we go back to our view. Notice we're not logged in. We reload the page, then we'll see those fields are gone. So an anonymous person can't see the sensitive information anymore. If you go and take a look at the front page of our site while we're logged in, then those fields are enabled here. So that's cool. This is something that we can do with the Field Permissions module, the Content Permissions module, but of course there are a few limitations here. The biggest problem is when your project is going to enlarge. If you are going to work on a large project with a number of roles, lots of fields, lots of content types, then this matrix of checkboxes is going to expand in something that becomes unwieldy and very unuser-friendly very quick. It's very easy to make mistakes, to disable or enable the wrong fields for the wrong user role. It's very hard to maintain this. If you're trying to change fields, add fields, disable fields, working on the content types themselves, then you have to remember to come back here and change stuff here too. So that makes it really hard to keep this in check with the rest of your site. So this is one use case we're going to try to solve using the Views Contextual Displays module I've been working on. So let's enable those fields again, because we're going to need that for our little demonstration. So let's go to our project page, drupal.org/project/vcd, and then you see that there are a few requirements that you'll need to fulfill, or a few modules that you're going to need before you can use the Views Contextual Displays module. You're going to need the Chaos Tools module, the Context module, Display Suite, and the Views module. I'm going to assume here that you have a little bit of experience with the Context module, that you know what the Display Suite module is all about, and that you have been using the Views module a few good times. If you haven't, there are a lot of screencasts going on. They are available at the project pages. For instance, the Display Suite has an excellent screencast. I suggest you take a look at that before you go any further with this module. because we're going to use a lot of the concepts explained in those screencasts and used by those modules and combine them to solve our problem. So how do we go about? Let's take a look at our view. Site building, views, list. Front page view. This is the view with our address book listing. Let's click on edit. And then you'll notice that for our view I have one display variant called page. I've configured it to display only nodes of type person, and the row style is set to be node. If you click on the settings of the node, then you'll see we're using the build mode, a build mode called teaser. If you click on the tab, then you can see there are a few different build modes available, like full node and sticky. Display Suite allows you to configure a layout for each build mode. So if you go to Site Building, Display Suite, Layout, Person, Teaser, then this is the place where you can position and enable fields to be displayed within the row of your view, or for that matter on any other place that might use Display Suite to display nodes on your page in a blog or somewhere else. So that's cool. Let's go a little bit further. Let's go back to our view, edit it, click on row style, because the row style node isn't the only row style that's available to us. We have a few different row styles like Display Suite Fields and Display Suite Object. Those are two new row styles that you'll get for free when you enable Display Suite and the Display Suite Views modules. So let's take the Display Suite Object row style, update, and you'll see that there are a lot of other settings coming about. You can still choose a default build mode. This is the same setting that you've been seeing when you're using the default node row style of views. But you've also the changing build modes tab, group data, and an advanced build mode tab. The gist of this row style is that you can set one build mode for this view, or for this display variant of a view, and that it will always shows the objects listed within your view within this using this build mode. So we can update this, and it is still going to use a teaser build mode for our view, or for our display variant. So let's save this, and let's go back. You'll see the fields are still being displayed. It's still using the teaser build mode. Now, what I really want to do is I want to dynamically shift between a build mode using these fields and a build mode where these fields aren't shown, depending on whether or not a user is logged in or not. That's the use case I'm trying to implement here. In a normal setup, the thing you want to do is you're probably going to add a new display. You're going to have to define a new build mode using node displays build mode. Let's do that first. Add new build mode, for instance, public. Display name public. Save the build mode. So now when we go to Site Building, Display Suite, Layout, Site Building, Display Suite, Layout, Person, and then we'll see that we have our 4 default build modes and a new one called Public. Then we can configure a few new fields here in our public build mode. The title, the picture, body, read more, those are filled out already. and you'll see the age and the email fields are disabled. While when we go to layout, person, teaser, then you'll see those fields are enabled here. So what we want to do is, when we go to views, list, front page, edit, is when you click on the role style on the settings, when we go to the default build mode, then we have the option to choose between teaser and our newly created build mode called public, teaser or public. So now when we want to switch between build modes, you will have to create a new display variant, one using the row style configured with teaser and one using the row style configured with public, the public build mode, and then we have to use some PHP trickery. Possibly we have to create a new module, maybe you want to do stuff using templating. Anyways, you have to do some PHP coding to enable either the display variant using the teaser build mode or the display variant using the public build mode. And you have to do it depending on the user role that's active at that time. So that's also not a good way to approach a problem, because what we really want is a row style which automatically senses whether or not a user is logged in or not, and then sets the default build mode or the build mode that it's going to use automatically. So that's what I want to solve using my VCD module I've been developing. So let's go to site building, modules, list. Let's enable the module, views context displays. Let's save the configuration. Alright, let's go back to site building, views, list. Let's check out our view again. We have a row style display suite object. When we click on it, then we get a new row style called VCD object. Let's enable it, update, and what you get are the same options you'll see when you're using the display suite object or the display suite object row style, but we get another option called contextual build modes. And when we click on it, then we'll see enable context switching. Nothing more for now. Let's enable our context switching, update, and that's it for now. So the second thing we need to do is we have to use the context module to define a context. Let's go to the context module list, and the context module allows you to manage contextual conditions and reactions for different portions of your site. You can think of each context as representing a section of your site. So let's add a context, and you'll see that a context consists of two parts: conditions and reactions. So what does a context do? When the conditions you define here are met, then the reactions in this step are going to be executed. So this is actually excellent for our purposes. We can configure a condition, for instance user role, and say if the user role is authenticated user, then we have to do something in the reactions. So let's add a reaction, and the reaction we can add a few different reactions. For instance, we can say make blocks, let's activate blocks, or we can say let's activate a breadcrumb, or we can say, and this is a cool part, we can say use the VCD display reaction. The VCD display reaction is something that comes from the VCD module. So let's click this, and you'll see that this reaction is not configurable. It's just there to load the context into views. So what you have to do is when you use the VCD module is you have to define conditions, and then you have to enable the VCD display reaction. So in this case, let's save this. Oh, I have to fill out a name, of course. So user role, condition, user role, authenticated user, and reaction, VCD display reaction, save. Okay, so now we have a context which will trigger the VCD display reaction when the user is logged in. Now let's go back to our views, list, back to our front page view, the VCD role style plugin. Let's click on the settings tab here. And then let's go back to our contextual build modes. And when we click this open, then we see that there is a new option here, set build mode for context user role. We see our conditions and we see the reactions which are going to be active or which are going to be triggered when the conditions are met. So what this does is when the conditions in the context module are met, then this build mode is going to be used to display the content within our view. So we can now say set the build mode for a context to teaser whenever a user is logged in. And of course the default build mode should be public. Remember, the public build mode doesn't have those sensitive fields. The teaser build mode does have those sensitive fields. And click on update. So what's going to happen now? Well, when a user is logged in, then the view is going to use the teaser build mode. When the user is an anonymous user, then the public build mode is going to be used within our view. Let's save this and let's check out our front page. Let's click on VCD demo. We're still logged in as an admin user. You see our sensitive information, and when we log out, no more sensitive information. So that's what the VCD module does. It takes a context, it's going to check whether or not conditions in our context are met, and then it's going to display, or it's going to use the build mode which is associated with the given context, and it's going to use that build mode to render the fields for the nodes or the objects you want to display. Of course, user roles aren't the only use case where you can use this. Actually, you can do a lot more. It's just a question of configuring conditions. You can, for instance, also use the node type, taxonomy conditions, path conditions, views, even views, menu conditions. There are a whole lot of conditions that you can combine, and depending on those conditions you can trigger build modes, as many build modes as you want. Actually, if you would add 5 contexts here in a list, 5 different contexts, and each of them has the VCD object reaction attached to them, then within fields, views, list, site building, front page, under our settings, those build modes, those contexts are going to be available here, and we can use them. So we can set as many build modes associated with as many contexts as we want for a view. This is handy because at that point we don't have to create a whole lot of display variants. We don't have to mess about with content permissions, and we can set our fields just by using and reusing build modes, and everything is just centered here within our view itself. We don't have to go to different parts of our admin interface to configure stuff that should be available here in the views interface. Okay, so that's the VCD module explained to you in a nutshell. So this module has a stable version 6 release. There is a port for Display Suite and Drupal 7. Actually, if you go to Display Suite, it's still in development, but Display Suite needs a patch which hasn't been released yet in a stable version. The patch has been committed already in the development snapshot, but it's not released as a stable yet. And I need that patch before I can release a stable version of Drupal 7, but that should be happening quite soon. Another thing is that if you have multiple contexts, then and those multiple contexts are tripped for review, then only the last active context build mode will be used for that view. So if you have, for instance, a context X and a context A, and both contexts become active, then only context A is going to be tripped, and the build mode associated with that context is going to be used by your view. So that's something that you do have to take into account here. So okay, this is the Views Contextual Displays module. Hope you like it. I hope you have some feedback for me. Just post it in the issue queue. And thank you for using my module.